As you might have guessed, this review is going to be spoiler-free. This is the first Marvel Cinematic Universe movie out of 3 coming out this year. Not to mention they also have 2 Disney Plus series coming out this year as well. Big year for Marvel. Captain America, Brave New World. So Captain America, Brave New World is the 35th movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the 5th movie in its Phase 5, part of the multiverse saga. It's the 9th installment overall in Phase 5, the 25th installment overall in the multiverse saga, and in the overall Marvel Cinematic Universe, it's the 48th installment. And it's the 4th Captain America movie. So in Captain America, Brave New World, after the events of Avengers Endgame and The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Sam Wilson, formerly known as the Falcon, has now taken up the mantle of Captain America. Meanwhile, Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross has been elected as the new president of the United States, and now there's a conspiracy against them. Evil plans have been set in motion. A lot of cogs turning in this movie, a lot of pieces on the board, and Sam Wilson has to save the day in this new political thriller from Marvel Studios. Now, I was looking forward to this movie because the trailer showed that it was bringing some pretty cool things to the table. I mean, a lot of the marketing, you saw that it showcased a lot of the Red Hulk fight, which I'll get to that, but also just Sam Wilson as Captain America, and Harrison Ford, and Giancarlo Esposito, and Danny Ramirez reprising his role from The Falcon and the Winter Soldier as Joaquin Torres, who is now the new Falcon. Like I said, a lot of pieces. And I heard some mixed reactions going into this, so I was a little bit concerned, but I walked out going, no, that was pretty cool. And a couple of my friends have thought the same. I'll start off with Anthony Mackie now as the new Captain America, because I think he's great still, and he carries the lead role really well. Funny thing is, Anthony Mackie is actually really funny in real life. If you've seen him in any interviews, the guy's hilarious. But seeing him as Sam Wilson, this dates back to like 10 years ago in Captain America the Winter Soldier. He's always been a little more serious. He's focused on the mission, he's focused on doing what's right, and that rings true here in this movie. Yeah, he's been playing this character for over 10 years now, and he still rocks it. That being said, some of his Anthony Mackie humor does get to shine through a little more in this movie, which I do welcome. I thought he was great, but gotta give some props here, because when it comes to Harrison Ford recently, let's face it, he's not been the best. I mean, what I mean by that is, he hasn't been taking his jobs too seriously. He's been kind of phoning it in to the point where I was like, all right, Disney, just let him retire, because it's becoming apparent that that's what he wants. I mean, Dial of Destiny is proof of that. Good news here, though, because sure, maybe he does still want to retire, but he was great in this movie, I thought. He actually has some pretty emotional scenes as the new president of the US. And for those of you who don't know, his character, Thaddeus Ross, was previously played in the MCU by William Hurt before he passed away. So this is a recasting, but it's a recasting that really works here. Harrison Ford brings a vulnerability to this character that William Hurt did not, at least not since his debut back in The Incredible Hulk in 2008. This is the first time since then, about 17 years ago, where we really get a deep dive into that character. And I felt it really worked, and Harrison Ford really sold it. He deserves praise for this movie, I feel. Not sure if he's gonna be in any more Marvel movies after this, but I wouldn't exactly hate it if he is. Other characters like Danny Ramirez coming back as Joaquin Torres, they're in it. Him though, I thought he was a little bit annoying at first, but he grew on me. He's good. And then there are other characters who I felt were completely wasted, like Sidewinder, Giancarlo Esposito's character. He's in the movie for all of about 15-ish minutes, so I felt that, yeah, that actor was a little wasted. Same with Ruth Bat-Saraf. I wouldn't say she was wasted, she did have a part to play in this movie, but I feel like her role in this movie is comparable to Black Widow's debut in Iron Man 2, where like she's in it, and she does some stuff, but she's not the deepest character in the movie, which is fine for this, since this is not her movie, you know, it's Captain America's movie, so fine. I will calm your nerves about this though, about the movie. If you want some sweet Captain America and Falcon action, you got it here. Holy shit, the action scenes when they blow out in IMAX aspect ratio, they're awesome to look at. For the most part, there were a couple of them where they felt a little bit shaky and like choppy in the editing. Like some of the ones that are not in IMAX aspect ratio, they just stay in widescreen, letterbox, and they're in a dark room and lights are flashing. It's almost like there was one scene in particular, it was like epilepsy. People are fighting and it's just close quarters combat and the lights are flickering. I was like, all right, who's fighting who? It was a little hard to follow, a little hard to track. Other action scenes, like the one you saw in the trailer where they're flying over the ocean and everyone's just kicking ass, that scene stands out as an awesome action scene in this movie. The aerial choreography is awesome. They're flying all over the place. The cinematography, it was shot really well. I mean, shot, it's all CG of course, but it looked awesome. Which then is gonna bring us to the Red Hulk fight, which yeah, as you figured, is just one action scene in the movie. Not a whole lot of Red Hulk in this one. At least that's what I figured, and so I wasn't disappointed because I was right. That being said, Red Hulk was terrifying. In a good way, that is. I mean, just the concept of a big, red, muscular Harrison Ford is terrifying enough. That'd give me nightmares. But given the narrative context of the transformation in the movie, I felt it was really effective. Because when it happens, you're like, this is the worst case scenario. Like a big red president Right. And so when Sam Wilson, Captain America, has to face him, I mean, guy's enormous. And Sam Wilson is not a super soldier, mind you. He doesn't have super strength. He's just a guy. In a vibranium suit with vibranium wings and a vibranium shield, that'll help for sure. But still, when facing down a big, huge, red, muscular Harrison Ford, that can be pretty daunting. They played that up really well. It was a really awesome action sequence, I felt. So big props to that. Another thing I like about this movie is that it does touch on the political aspects of the MCU. It shows what the world is doing to move on from the big, huge events of the past few movies, or at least a couple of them. I'm not going to spoil which ones because the trailers don't really confirm them, but I will say that certain things are addressed where fans have been like, hey, why don't you address that? They are addressed here. And I'm not just talking about the obvious one that the trailers did show a little bit. No, some others as well, and that was really appreciated. This movie does tie up some loose ends that have been open in the MCU for a while. It was refreshing, I'm not gonna lie. The visual effects in this movie, some were fine, some were pretty good, some were meh. There was some pretty obvious CG at times. One scene in particular I can remember, after a fight scene, Sam Wilson is talking and I was like, you are in front of a green screen. It's so obvious because the lighting does not match the background. It did break the immersion for a second. Just for a second though. And besides, some other visual effects looked awesome, like the scene I was talking about over the ocean, that looked great. The biggest transgression I feel this movie commits is that it crams a lot into just under 2 hours. Yeah, when I heard that this movie's like an hour and 58 minutes long, I was like, uh-oh. For as much as this movie seems to be bringing to the table, that's kind of why I felt that Giancarlo Esposito was wasted, because he doesn't have a whole lot of time to shine in here. Because they gotta keep the story going in under 2 hours. It could have easily had an extra 10 or 15 minutes added onto it. That would have been fine. I don't know why this movie's under 2 hours. I just don't. Yeah, a lot of things in here feel crammed. That being said, that doesn't break the movie for me or anything. I still had a pretty fun time with it. Also gotta give some serious props to the musical score here. It was composed by Laura Cartman. She did the What If series, Miss Marvel, and The Marvels, all of which I thought had pretty good scores. She's really getting her name out there. The score in this movie was awesome. It's really orchestral. It's kind of generic, I guess. But that being said, the big orchestral sound that it provides for the action scenes, it did a great job. I couldn't really pick up on a main theme, but maybe I wasn't really listening for it. I'll have to see the movie again to pick up on it. But I am totally down to see this movie again. In the end, Captain America Brave New World, I thought it was solid. Easily my least favorite of the 4 Captain America movies, but certainly not among the worst that the Marvel Cinematic Universe has. Fun action, a really interesting story. It's like part mystery, part action. The acting is great all around. All in all, just go into it not expecting like the heights of Captain America the Winter Soldier or Civil War, but just a fun MCU movie. Like, it's certainly not as bad as the Marvels or Black Widow, at least not in my opinion. For Captain America Brave New World, I will say, go see this movie while it's in theaters. If for nothing else, just to see big red muscular Harrison Ford in IMAX, cause that's worth it for sure. And there is a post-credit scene, but no mid-credit scene. So you'll need to wait until all the credits are done to get your one little stinger. So, Captain America Brave New World, have you seen it yet? What are your thoughts on it? And where does it rank in your Phase 5 hierarchy, or Multiverse Saga hierarchy, or MCU hierarchy if you want to go that far? Whatever you think, go ahead and leave a comment. And of course, thank you for subscribing.